Hi everyone, Brian Valerio, VP in the Proxy Solicitation Group at Alliance Advisors, and I'm back with another Corp Gov alert. This time I am joined again by Tom Ball, who is a Senior Vice President in the Proxy Solicitation Group with me at Alliance Advisors. And a few months ago, Tom joined me and we discussed a new development from Nasdaq where Nasdaq was adding diversity requirements for companies that listed on the Nasdaq exchange to the board of directors. They wanted to see a set number of female and underrepresented minorities seeking board positions at public companies listed on Nasdaq. But there's been a recent development in this story, and like we do, we want to keep all of you abreast of all the different changes that are going on in the corporate governance world. So we thought we would come back and update you all on this change. So Tom, with that as a backdrop, can you walk us through the change and maybe refresh our recollection about what the NASDAQ proposal is and what it means?
Yeah, sure. So again, March 11th, the SEC postponed the decision on these NASDAQ's plan to they were looking to put greater diversity on corporate boards. So background is in December, NASDAQ made its initial proposal to the SEC, looking to adopt new listing standards that would relate to board diversity. Specifically, the rule would require that NASDAQ listed companies have or explain why they don't have at least one director who self-identifies as female and one director who self-identifies as an quote unquote unrepresented minority or LGBTQ+. The rules would also require each NASDAQ listed company to provide disclosure in a uniform format regarding diversity. And they also had some other conforming changes they were proposing. Most recently, on February 26th, NASDAQ proposed amendments to the proposal, and the amendments were in response to over 200 letters that the SEC received, 200 comment letters. NASDAQ said that 85% of those letters were positive and supportive, and NASDAQ is making these changes because they believe it will strengthen the original proposal. So let's look at, I think what we should look at are the three material amendments being made to the proposed rules. One is that NASDAQ is adding a new rule applying to companies that have 5 or fewer directors. This rule would give those companies more flexibility in getting to that diversity objective. These boards would first have to have at least one director who's diverse as opposed to 2. So that gives them some flexibility, or again, explain why they don't have one such director. Another amendment is if a company has 5 members and they add 1 to comply with the diversity requirement, that would not automatically require them to then have 2, since they would then have 6 directors. The second change is an amendment that would allow newly listed companies additional time to comply with the diversity requirement. And timing would depend on which market the company trades on. For companies on NASDAQ Global and NASDAQ Global Market Select, they would have to have at least one diverse director by the latter of 1 year from the date of listing or the date on which they file the first proxy statement. As to the requirement to have at least 2 directors, they would have until the latter of 2 years from the date of listing or the date on which they file their proxy statement. For companies on NASDAQ Capital Markets, they would be permitted to satisfy the requirement to have at least 2 diverse directors by the latter of 2 years from the date of listing or the date on which the company files its proxy statement. The third change is adding a new rule that would provide a grace period for companies that no longer meet the diversity objective because a director falls ill or resigns. Under this new rule, if a company finds itself in that position, it would have 1 year from the date of vacancy or the date on which it files its proxy statement or information statement in the calendar year following the date of the vacancy. So some grace period there. NASDAQ's also proposing some technical amendments, but I really don't think we need to go into that at this point, Brian.
Absolutely. So those are some pretty big changes, but overall, the meat of the proposal seems like it is going to remain the same. And the goal seems to continue to be to increase board diversity, to have
That's correct.
new diverse members join public company boards. And it seems
That's
like
right.
these changes don't affect that overall goal or that theme.
No, I think it softens it and adds some flexibility, and I think it makes it look better. But you're right, the core of the proposal is still there.
And now that it's back in SEC review, do we have an estimated time frame of when we think this might become law?
Oh, we're putting this off until August or something in that period of time. So that's not obviously not something for this proxy season, and we'll have the summer to think about it.
Well, I think that's going to be welcome news to a lot of issuers out there,
I think
and a lot
so.
of advisors out there. So it's nice that we're able to share some good news at the start of proxy season, because I know this is going to be a particularly hectic one with all the developments that happened over the past year. So I think what the next thing for us to do is let's touch base again and renew this piece once the final proposal is passed and we've got a better sense of what this will look like for companies and how it will impact them going forward.
Perfect. Let's do it. Looking forward to it. Thanks.
All right, great. We'll connect soon then.
Bye.